Okay, I don't know if we're live, but we can chit chat to make sure that there's no technical issues. Maybe the audience could let us know if they hear us and see us. Matt is fixing his makeup. He was too embarrassed to come before his full makeup was done. So he's working on turning his camera on when he's ready. But Scotto, how was your week?
It was a good week. Can't complain. Portfolio's doing pretty well. I think kind of across the board. Well, a bit of a mixed bag across the board, I guess. But there's a couple that had a nice bit of upside, namely High Tide and EOS this week. And Redwire, I guess, nice week over week, anyways. But overall, pretty nice. How about you?
Yeah, I think I will do an update about my portfolio. I have to do some stuff.
Oh, you still haven't done that, hey?
No. I mean, it's funny because I'm doing these Airbnbs, which, by the way, they're like going live. 2 is live now on Airbnb. Maybe I can show it at the end of this section. And then I keep thinking like I will have time, but it, like the project ramped up and then it doesn't ramp down, like doesn't go from 100 to 0. Like there's still like the first guests are coming, and like there's still more setups to do. So the minute I have time, I will do a big update. But I had to do some stuff to secure my Rocket Lab position, which I did, and it cost me some money. So now my portfolio is basically only Rocket Lab. Yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Interesting.
Yes. And Matt, I don't know if we understand the makeup is not ready, but maybe you can talk without the camera.
Yeah, I can. I don't know what the hell's going on. The camera's plugged in, so I don't know if I just need to restart the application or something. So I'll be with you guys shortly. Market's been good. I was actually out on vacation last week in Outer Banks, so that was a lot of fun hanging out with family. I originally wasn't going to take the opportunity to go, and I was feeling a little bit of homesick, I guess, and haven't seen my mom since Christmas, and I haven't seen my sister in a little bit either. So wanted to just take the opportunity to go and see them, because you never know when you're going to be able to see everybody ever again, So just wanted to go and see them, and that was great. And during the week, just chatting with my brother-in-law about the markets, and just threw more on the 15th. As always, I have a normal Rocket Lab at Next Decade, Venture Global, buy, and I think I did some more SPY and Bitcoin, as always, on the 15th and last day of every month. So awesome, always awesome to be able to continue to add to the markets, and I'm happy still that we're slightly down. I wish we were down a little bit more, honestly, but buying in the $20 range for Rocket Lab, can't complain with that. Can't complain with that at all, and it's been a lot of fun picking up a couple hundred more shares here and there, and I hope it stays here until launch. In fact, I honestly, maybe we could talk about this a later piece. I honestly wouldn't mind if there was an announcement that it got pushed to early 2026 to see the stock go down, because I know it's inevitable, right? I know Neutron is inevitable, and so anyway, it'll be, I'm just trying to buy as much as I can, because I'm very confident that this company is destined for great things, and we're under great management.
Yeah, and on that note, this week has been super many announcements. I think some that have flown under the radar a little bit, like maybe we're getting a Neutron satellite network, and maybe Rocket Lab is going into the 5G NTN space, which is non-terrestrial network, which would make it a direct competitor with SpaceX's Starlink, Kuiper, and many others who are in this field. And so it's been some time since there has been so many major announcements on to go through on Rocket Lab Weekly. So excited about this episode. This is episode 81, and we got Matt. Okay, so
there we go.
Perfect makeup. I see that they did a good job on the hair. It's looking good, man.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
So cool. Let's take the news for the week. We're going to start with the most boring one first, and then we get to the most exciting ones in the end. So the first one is here. Planetary science is in the DNA of Rocket Lab. We're embarking on the first private mission in search of evidence supporting signs of life on Venus. Thank you for Supercluster HQ and Squeaky Volcano for talking with the team to learn more about the next interplanetary endeavor. The reason why I thought this was interesting is because it looks like there is a documentary brewing. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for. About this Venus mission. So yeah, the last documentary was pretty cool about Rocket Lab. So I'm happy to see another one. I don't know if you guys have any comments about this one, or we can just go to the next piece of news.
Nothing from me here. No. Cool to see though.
All right, I take Matt's silence as he has nothing to comment on this one.
I'm not smart enough to comment on that. Yeah.
All right,
Vince, are you screen sharing, by the way?
I should be. Oh my God, I wasn't. Thank you. You're the doge of this team. You know, the tech support. Good. So we go to the next one. This is super exciting. So Rocket Lab has been approved to 2 multi-billion-dollar hypersonic technology development programs, one in the US, one in the UK. It's a bit tricky because the US one is a IDIQ contract, which means that it's $46 billion, and it's not even only for a hypersonic experiment. It's basically part of the US Air Force enterprise-wide agile acquisition contract, EWAC. So it can be many other things in this. And basically this gives Rocket Lab the right to bid for this program. The one in the UK, which is $1.3 billion or 1 billion pounds, is basically strictly testing of hypersonic technologies, where Rocket Lab can bid. Ironically, it might be that Rocket Lab wins more money. Probably not. Probably they will win more money in the US. But what's tough for me with these announcements is that these are amazing news, but you just can't quantify them yet, because it's not like they won $1 billion contracts in these two countries. They won the right to bid on these with nothing guaranteed. I think let's start with Scotto. You're the numbers guy. What is your interpretation of this?
Well, I mean, there's I guess a couple approaches to this, and as with any of these new announcements, there's some folks that are taking this as this could be all $46 billion to Rocket Lab, or a few different takes, right? So the 46 billion, as I understand it, 10% has already been claimed largely by Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. And then outside of that, despite the kind of framing of this announcement, the US version, the enterprise-wide agile acquisition contract, this isn't exclusive to suborbital designing and manufacturing. It's a little bit more broad in terms of what was it called? I want to make sure I get applications that include missile defense interceptors and kill vehicles. So think missiles, strategic, tactical, and hypersonic missiles, and reentry systems. So it is a little bit more broad than just HASTE. But to kind of for the stuff that is HASTE, some other folks were like, okay, let's keep in mind that this is only for launch. But I'd like to remind everybody that following the November 2024 HASTE launch, Rocket Lab posted that not only did their team successfully complete the launch, but they also designed, manufactured, assembled, and integrated the experimental instrument for the test on a highly accelerated timeline. So to kind of summarize what I'm saying is kind of what you were saying, Vince, is these are exciting, but a little bit unknown. But I think that this is more than just the launch part of things. I'd be willing to bet that a lot of this is going to end up going towards space systems as well.
Awesome. Sir Matt.
Well, I think it's important. We've talked about this in the past, the ability for the HASTE program or hypersonic technology from Rocket Lab to be able to be utilized globally and not necessarily launched specifically at the Virginia Wallops Island location. And I think this is the first iteration of seeing that outside of potentially being launched out of Wallops Island. And this is a big deal because one thing could happen. The UK can continue on their current program, which I believe is to get hypersonic vehicles on the pad by 2030, or they can farm it out to somebody like Rocket Lab that is an international partner for not only New Zealand, Australia, Japan, now the UK, and be a grander part of, I guess I don't want to say NATO, but I guess it kind of would kind of feel that way in a sense. And apologies, I'm not the best at geopolitics, so you can crucify me in the comments if you'd like. But to me, I think this is going to be a step in the right direction for any country that is a partner with the United States or allied with the United States, and doesn't necessarily have hypersonic technology at all at the moment. And we also recognize the, I guess, lack of speed that the European Space Agency has had with the ability to launch vehicles. And they're probably just focused on getting the Ariane 6 off the ground and not necessarily focusing on hypersonic. So in this particular case, this is not only a step into the UK, but potentially a step into all of Europe to be able to take over an entire market, specifically when it comes to defense. And once again, I don't want to highlight HASTE as an offensive rocket. I always consider this as almost like a defensive rocket, or an ability to fast communications or go to remote locations and deploy something overhead, etc. But anyway, I just think that this is a phenomenal opportunity, and it's the first of many, in my opinion. And we will see more and more happening, I anticipate, over the coming years.
One comment that I see that I forgot to cover as well, Matthew Beatty is asking if there are any other companies that have been onboarded to these programs. The answer is absolutely. There are 122 vendors for the 46 billion, the US portion of this. So Rocket Lab is one of very many for this this particular pool.
The UK one, that's quite interesting because that's more specifically hypersonic. And Curtis has joined someone's membership. Maybe Scotto, did you start a membership?
Maybe I finally got it set up.
Ah, nice. Okay, so people, you can officially become members now with Scotto. So what I was trying to say is a few points. So whatever we think about Trump's politics, it is like he's basically saying that the EU has to defend itself and it cannot rely on the US cannot freeload on the US. I think that's his state of mind. And obviously that will result in these countries having to in-house their own space capabilities. And because their space capabilities is non-existent, it's very convenient to go to a neutral third party like New Zealand to get some help. So this could be, the fact that they were onboarded into the UK system, like, a sign of many more countries to be onboarding Rocket Lab for different cycles. And the second reason why it's interesting is because I think it's a lot less competition on hypersonics, because when I look in the US side, I believe that there's one more company that can help with the hypersonic launches, but they launch like from an airplane. So they have like a rocket under the wing of an airplane. And my understanding is that it's very different. Like it's not testing for the same things as HASTE is testing for. But in the UK, I don't know. Do you know, Scott, how many companies are onboarded into this?
I'm not sure about the UK side.
What I can say is that there is no current operational UK hypersonics, and I just did a quick search using Grok, specifically around all of Europe, and really it's just the big 4 or 5 names you'd expect that have some sort of technology being in development, which is the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands. I don't know if you consider that the big 4, but they are 4 or 5 largest countries within kind of Europe there. But you have a plethora. I could go through the entire list, but it's pretty much the remaining countries in Europe that have no hypersonic technology or programs in order to get that. Just leaving, in my opinion, the market wide open for all of Europe, comparatively to the United States, where we have Lockheed, Raytheon, Northrop, Boeing, Aerojet, Kratos, Leidos, etc., that all provide some sort of technology for it. And so, to me, I think there's a lot of opportunity in this particular contract going forward, specifically for opportunity not just in the UK but the EU.
All right. I just want to say it's raining memberships for Scotto. I think After 19 has also joined Scotto's membership. So it's pretty cool. Well earned. Exactly. Awesome, guys. Yeah, I think I just also have to say as a last comment on this, I know that haste theoretically could have been a very big thing. Like we have been saying it for almost a year now on our channels. But I'm very surprised, like how well it is doing. Like it almost feels like it has, like it's outselling the normal Electron launches at this point, or has a potential to be as big or a little bit bigger than the Electron launches. And for me, it's like it feels like it went there from one day to the next. Like we understood that it's like a big possibility, and then they're just pulling in all these billion-dollar on-ramping of different programs. And I mean, we have to see in the future what happens, but definitely a very good sign. Okay, so, and then talking about going good for Rocket Lab, there's this guy who's really good at numbers. I wish he was here with us today. Oh no, wait, he is. So he did an updated look at the known Rocket Lab launches for 2025. And I believe that you list 9 launches here. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Exactly. And then we have already had 5 launches. So that puts us at 14. And you are saying that this doesn't include 4 more haste launches. So that's 18. 3 more Black Skies. So that's 21. 1 more Hawkeye. That's 22. And 4 more IQPS, Japanese provider. That is 26 launches that is possible this year. I'm like, wow. Last year, the launch business was a complete drag on Rocket Lab, and Space Systems was like getting us out of the doo-doo. And this year, I think Space Systems, I mean, it's always very hard to tell how they are doing until we get into earnings, but feels like the launch business is really having a breakout year. So, yeah, I give it over to Scotto.
I mean, yeah, it's cool to see. So I'm not sure. Like, I think some of these, like, I mean, obviously, some of these will probably end up getting pushed into 2026. But it's still, there's no shortage of launch potential for this year. And I mean, yeah, I don't know what else there is to really say. Like you kind of nailed it, Vince. It's just launches. There's no shortage, and keep in mind, like there's just onboarding after onboarding after onboarding of like there's going to be like just it seems like a wave of haste launches that are going to be signed immediately. Like we might even get news in a couple of weeks here for earnings, but like guaranteed by the end of the year, we're going to have more than the haste launches that are currently in backlog.
Yeah, it's I know that there's plenty of people out there that are weary of the fact that there hasn't been a launch yet in Q2, as far as I'm aware. And we've gone kind of over or close to a month now without a launch, but it's not infrequent that we experience lack of launches for a month or maybe even 2 with Rocket Lab. And we always know, and we kind of go through, I shared a graphic last time where we generally have very rapid pace of 3, 4, 5 launches, and then we go silent for a week or 2, and then we have 1 or maybe several others. And so there's always this kind of wave of, as we continue to go closer and closer to the asymptote or that we're trying to achieve, which I don't know what it is. Is it, once every 3 days? Is it once every, 2 days, etc.? In the long term, there's always a slight dip up of the average of the last 5 launches, right? It goes down very rapidly and then it slightly comes up and then it comes back down. So I think right now, just give it some time for anybody that's impatient and says, hey, we haven't had a launch yet here in Q2. We're supposed to be averaging about 5 or so launches per quarter this year to achieve kind of a 20 to 22 plus sort of launch cadence. I would just say give it some time, and overall, I think in the long term, things will be fine. And I think we just need to, what's the word I'm looking for? Give time for the partners to get their stuff up and running as well, because a lot of these businesses that we're assisting with are still they're still in their infancy, and also trying to get to a place where they can ramp up cadence as well. Like Black Sky, for example, being one that is now at least EBITDA positive. Now they have the opportunity to potentially ramp up slightly more and create more satellites and not necessarily have to go into the red. So it'll be interesting to see how these other opportunities kind of come forward. And if you can remind me, is it IQPS or is it Kinesis that had a 5 launch deal that just concluded?
That was Kinesis that just concluded. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you for reminding me.
All right. Thank you, Matt. So we go to the next one. This, I just thought it was interesting, not earth-shattering. Am I sharing tech support?
Yeah.
Am I? Awesome. So Caltech recently presented its plan in collaboration with JPL and CNES for a mission to Apophis, probably butchered that one, a near-Earth asteroid slightly larger than the Eiffel Tower, which underwent its own city-killer collision scare back in 2004, similar to the recent hubbub around 2024 YR4. So what's very interesting is that this university, in its presentation about sending a satellite, they were planning to use Rocket Lab's Neutron and Rocket Lab's own satellite bus to basically go visit this asteroid. I think they had like a 2029 or 2028 time frame. So it's very cool to see that there is demand for Neutron. It's not earth-shattering and it's a university, but yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add to this, or did you see this one?
I didn't see it. I saw it briefly. I wasn't sure what exactly it was, but that's cool to see.
Let me ask: is this a university project, or is this like a legit project that's going to be in collaboration with the university? Because I'm just trying to understand.
Hard to tell at this point.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, as I said, I don't know how serious it is, but yeah, it seems
interesting though. At least the I feel like most people would gravitate towards using some sort of SpaceX vehicle or something like that. So even if it is just even if it is a capstone project or something like that somebody's using in university, the fact that they're using a Rocket Lab vehicle is very awesome.
But you see, you bring up a very interesting point that they would use a SpaceX vehicle, but SpaceX probably cannot guarantee a launch time. Oh my God, sorry guys, I'm so tired I can barely speak. So with Rocket Lab, it's like you're not waiting for anyone. They're your private ride, your private jet. They leave when you want them to leave, and I guess when an asteroid comes close to Earth, which happens, I don't know, once in 100 years, maybe you don't want to miss it because SpaceX is booked up.
Mm-hmm.
So use case for Rocket Lab. We just unlocked it. Okay, cool. So now let's get into the drama this week. So Rocket Lab did a filing, and this filing was for the FCC for radio frequencies, and it looks like it was for the first launch of Neutron, and they used some very interesting wording here. They said that these filings are for the Neutron satellite network. And then we have this post here by Space Talks. We have gone through the unclassified databases, including with the filing. It provides a detail of probably the first tranche of Rocket Lab constellation. Given the technical information, it appears to be a 4-satellite constellation for a direct-to-device / SATCOM service optimized for coverage of the USA and Bermuda. Here's a summary of the most relevant technical data, and then some Chinese technical data, at least to me. Yes. And I don't know if, because there's like a whole story here, I don't know if we should insert comments at this point, or I should like get to the end of the whole story.
Yeah, I'm going to ask, are you planning to talk about the Neutron launch window as well here?
Yeah, so basically in this, they are pinning the Neutron launch window to September, like no earlier than September 2025. So yeah, there's that news. That's also big news. So and then that's no earlier than. So it can be later, but no earlier. And let me see if I finish the story here. Basically, the point is that Tran answered this tweet with a lot of also technical data, and his very educated guess seems to be that this FCC license is for a Neutron's actual second and first stage, so that they can communicate with it. So, and then later on, the space activity said that yeah, he's probably right, and they're not going to launch a satellite network into space. But I was thinking a lot about this, and I'm like, okay, they are sending a Neutron up in space, and it's not being used for anything. And if they need to test something on Flatellite, it would be kind of a free test bed. So it wouldn't be, I don't know, I guess it would be kind of smart to try and chance deploying some of their own satellites to test them. But what do you guys think?
I'm going to rewind a little bit first, because there's like, I guess a little bit of not as exciting news, but it's still cool news. I guess it was Tuesday night. Okay, so it's kind of a funny story, but I often check the FCC's website because I like to keep an eye on the Electron launches, specifically out of Wallops. So for all 3 of the HASTE launches so far, we were able to determine like months, if not weeks, or weeks, not months, weeks, if not months in advance, when these HASTE launches were going to happen. Because as we kind of saw here, there's a mention of like, oh, September. So I was kind of just shopping around, and I came across these 2 FCC documents, one of which explicitly mentioned a suborbital Electron that was scheduled with a window for the second half of the year. So opening July, ending December 31st. So the kind of news there is we're getting a HASTE launch probably in July. It's not explicitly stated, but this is probably the missing hypersonics launch from supposed to be in Q1. The other document that I stumbled across, I didn't realize what I was looking at, but I sent it off to a few guys that I talk about the launch stuff with. And they were like, hey, holy shit, do you realize what you just sent me? I was like, no, I like kind of fill me in. And yeah, to make a long story short, it seems like this is what we're looking at is Neutron. And the kind of way it was derived is from Tran and I think Jacob, like determining the GPS coordinates and like cross-referencing between the old HASTE documents to this one. And they also went so far, I think it was Jacob, he was going so far as to like identify the measurements of the antenna on either FCC document, is able to derive, well, like, this one can't be on an Electron because it's too high up off the air, off the ground. So there was a lot of like muddy information kind of in between, but that kind of is what catches us. Oh yeah, and then there's a mention of like potentially 4 craft being on there. Well, I think more specifically, it was 4 different orbital paths, if you will. But again, this is in my limited knowledge. I don't think they could all be met within one specific launch. So I'm not sure if that was kind of like a rough guideline. Because, like, for example, there was one orbital path that was like the typical low Earth orbit, like 500 kilometers, but there's another one that was for 2,500. So I'm not sure if they're going to try to get something up there and then really send it far out, or if that's even possible. But a lot of cool information, but nothing. I mean, I don't want to just say it's like a nothing burger, but like a lot of cool information and a lot of probabilities out of here. It's going to be exciting to see which of these items is legit and which were kind of more just Rocket Lab kind of covering themselves in case they want to change plans last minute. So hopefully that answers your question.
I mean, for me, the only thing is like, why call it neutron satellite network? Like the naming, like, because I hear everyone on these technical data. It's just, I don't get like, or do they like sit with a coffee that they're sipping at home and, oh, this is going to start some interesting conspiracy theories. And then they have a coffee and they just open Twitter and I don't know. But Matt, what's your take on this?
Specifically, why they would call it neutron satellite network, or the whole thing?
Yeah. Like, why would they call it neutron satellite network, and why not the neutron first stage and second stage? And
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Could it just be like a vague, like insert a random title kind of a thing too? Like maybe we're hanging on to that too closely.
Or like the definition of satellite, like anything that orbits the Earth that is man-made, and then it's like, okay, that would fit, but it's just okay. But the plot thickens. So here we go. So there has been an interview given by Richard French, who is this guy. He's the director of business development and strategy for Rocket Lab's Space Systems division. Okay, so he's not nobody. And in an interview, he basically said that what Satellite provides is an elegant solution for large aperture systems without the need for deployable antennas. So 5G, non-terrestrial network, is a great example of a commercial application. That's what's exciting about that opportunity, Frank says. This is an imminently scalable consumer application. We are seeing that a lot of the minimum viable constellation are in the 150 to 200 satellite range. So yeah, you don't need a mega constellation to address this 5G NTN networks opportunity. And French also said on the Mynaric acquisition, our intent to acquire Mynaric gives us the tools to create optical mesh networks in space, which are going to be really important for the architecture looking forward, he says. There is also some other clues, but it definitely seems like Rocket Lab is really flirting with the idea of this providing 5G from space. The clocks, there is still more information about this, but did you guys see this? How credible do you think this is? And does it tie in with maybe this neutron satellite network?
I think plausibly. I mean, the conversation has always been that Neutron was going to launch some sort of communications constellation. So I think it's going to be kind of in tandem with each other.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. The 150 to 200 satellite range, I find that really interesting. Not really surprising, but cool.
Yeah. Okay. So let's thicken the plot here. So Tim, our beloved friend who betrayed us all with Rocket Lab and went over to ASTS. So he says, try to do a back of the envelope calculation what it would cost Rocket Lab to launch direct to device full constellation, but the company is very tight-lipped about satellite specs. So here are some educated guessing. According to French, which is this guy in that we just read about, these constellations would at least need 150 to 200 satellites, which will also be true for Rocket Lab. Also, the satellites will be likely fairing constraint, not mass constraint. To be conservative, I think they can at least stack 16 per launch, meaning at least 12 launches are needed for full constellation. Eternal cost, assuming 50% margin, I round it to 30 million. To calculate the satellite costs, I use MDA's Aurora platform recent Globalstar deal as proxy, since those two are also direct to device. More than 50 sets for in total 768 million, meaning the sales price of roughly 15 million per satellite. Assuming 25% margin per satellite amounts to 12 million production cost for the satellites. Since Rocket Lab is a master in doing things cheap, I assume 8 to 10 million per satellite. So that is a back of the napkin math. And 100 satellites at 10 million a pop is $1 billion. 200 satellites at 10 million a pop is $2 billion. And last I checked Rocket Lab's balance sheet, they did not have this kind of money on it. However, me as a shareholder, I kind of feel happy that they're going in this direction, because I feel that the internet is like a proven business in space. You're not guessing if there's going to be customers, like, of course, you're still guessing what your market share is going to be, what your pricing is going to be. And it's super scalable. It's not like Earth observation. So if this is successful, Rocket Lab's market cap is going to shoot up to the sky. But yeah, so there's two other shareholders here. Do you guys think that, because this would mean capital raises, dilution? Yeah, like to hear your guys' thoughts.
Just to kind of, well, I was going to say push back, but I wouldn't even call it that. As Neutron is arriving at this minimum viable product launch, we can expect, more block upgrades over the next year or so. And then after that, it's kind of smooth sailing in terms of like additional CapEx and R&D for Neutron development, short of like building a new pad somewhere else. But that's, I guess a problem for another day. If this constellation is going to cost this much, it's also worth considering how long it would take for Rocket Lab to deploy this, because what did he arrive at? Like $1 billion right now for the full build out, was it roughly?
No, he actually, if you read it, he goes into like how they would have to partner. I didn't want to read everything, but he thinks that they would have to get a 50-50 partner so that they have a global spectrum. And then they would have to team up with MNOs, which is, what was that again? I think it's major network operators like Telia. What else? What is there in the US? Network provider.
Okay. Yeah. Because $1 to $2 billion right now. That seems. I mean, that is a lot of money. It's like twice what Rocket Lab has on the balance sheet. But if you consider that this is going to be over like half a decade probably to deploy, like that's kind of best case too, right?
Yeah.
The what Rocket Lab will ideally be generating at that point too, that can fund towards the back half of that constellation build out. So if you bring all the numbers and show them at face value, yeah, but once you kind of bake that in over time, I don't think it's quite a concern. Also, I'm not sure if that do you mind scrolling up? It was 150 to 200 satellites, was it?
Yeah,
because that's I'm not sure if Richard was mentioning that to be somebody's approaching Rocket Lab and saying we need this many satellites, because there was a mention, I think, from Adam Spice, they're only planning to do like a dozen to 100, I think, satellites. Or
Yeah.
dozens to hundreds, I think was the quote. And so, I mean, still, like the hundreds could, of course, mean the 200 that we see here, but could be a lot smaller, and it could be like scaling up over time as capital's available too.
Yeah. So he's saying here, Tim, that the initial service could start at 64 to 80 birds in the sky, which would take 4 to 5 Neutron launches, which is again like incredible time. If this is true, it means that my valuation is wrong and I was too bearish on my, because they're like keep pulling forward certain things, and yeah, this space infrastructure is a lot bigger opportunity than what I was thinking with, for example.
And just to pick apart that last line as well, the 4 to 5 Neutron launches being 28 territory, assuming the 135, a few of those launches have already been claimed. And I like, you know, probably even by the time we get, well, hopefully by the time we get earnings in a couple of weeks, maybe one or two more of those have been claimed too.
Yeah, the one for sure. The 3, like 2 is claimed from the 3 already. That's the 2 confidential customer. And what is that? That's 2026. So maybe they can launch 1 Neutron for themselves. And then in 2027, the 5, if they take 2, and then yeah, like in 2028, if they take, I don't know how fast they can reuse Neutron. They did say that they want to use half Neutron launches for themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I think they're trying to pin the same constellation with, say, Starlink and what ASTS is trying to do, and I don't think that they'll be similar, but they won't be completely similar to the point where you need 150 to 200 satellites. I'm thinking more, I don't want to say boutique, but maybe that maybe it's somewhere in between. And now with kind of more knowledge about potentially being able to be used with devices and stuff of the like, you know, maybe it will end up being more satellites than I was initially intending. But I don't know. I really don't know with respect to how exactly and how many constellations are going to be up there, when they're going to be up there. I'm still confident that within the first 2 launches or so, you're going to see satellites going into space, but I don't know. I really don't have an idea. I mean, to me, the SDA is going to be getting satellites or something comparable to it by 2027. So why you wouldn't take the opportunity to test one in 2025 or 2026 is beyond me. So continue to push it out to 27 and beyond, which I think a lot of people are saying, you know, Rocket Lab can't have some sort of constellation or vehicle up there before 2028. You know, they have to come out with this brand new X, Y, and Z. It's like they've been here before, right? They've made plenty of different satellites for plenty of different opportunities and have done very well in this space. So why they wouldn't be able to create something like this and put it up into space, but by the time 2025 ends is kind of beyond me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I just think that we could speculate all we want. I think at the end of the day, Flatlight's going to be a bigger deal than what I think a lot of people are giving it credit for. But I think it's a valiant effort by Tinfoil Timmy to be able to put this together, and I hope it's a good continued conversation. And I'm joking when I say Tinfoil Tim. Tim's a valuable member of the community.
I was also joking when I said he betrayed us. He's still a Rocket Lab. He's still a Rocket Lab shareholder. He just, for some reason, gets a lot of flack for, I don't know, going all in on ASTS.
He provides more of a neutral stance on maybe some of the news that comes out, and so some people consider him like, is he bearish? Is he neutral? Is he bullish? You know, nobody. But I think he provides a devil's advocate way of looking at anything that comes out, because generally when we see Rocket Lab, you know, we're always wanting to be bullish on it and never think, you know, in a negative light. But I think Tim does a good job of providing both sides.
I thought he was like the cyber prince of ASTS when I see his tweet. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I really wanted to highlight this tweet is because I wanted to do this research myself of like, okay, what do other similar constellations cost? And he has already done it. So it saved a lot of time for me. And I think it does give you a very valid picture if Rocket Lab is, or how do you call it? He's at least in the ballpark. That's what I want to say. If Rocket Lab does go this way, and there is more and more signs that we are going this way. So it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that was all the Rocket Lab news for this week for me. The only other news there is a public service announcement from me. I don't understand why everybody is bagging on these women who was in space. I mean, like half jokingly and half not jokingly. I thought we were all team space, and you know, the fact that people can not train years and just hop on a ride and they can experience space and come back. I think it's just a testament to how far we have maybe come into the space age. And yeah, if a man wants to pay, I don't know how many millions to get 20 minutes away from his wife, I'm happy he can do it. Sometimes I want to do the same with my wife, but don't have these kind of finances. So what is your guys' take on these? Are these women astronauts? Do you think that this was a cringe fest, or people should just leave them alone? I can see some strong opinions here.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of half biting my tongue. I guess a little bit, I don't know, bitter is the word, but like the difference in like how much attention the satellites that were abandoned in space got compared to this 11-minute joyride is a little bit funny. But like I always felt like kind of weird about the New Shepard launches, not only because it's like a joyride, for lack of a better term, but like I remember it was when Virgin Galactic, I think it was 2021, they sent those 4 folks up. For those unfamiliar, it's like a 2 planes kind of connected, and they have that other unit in the middle. The plane goes up in the sky, sends off the launch vehicle that does like a big backflip into orbit. And that goes 80 kilometers above the Earth. And then, it was like maybe a couple of weeks or a month after Blue Origin had their first successful New Shepard launch. And I guess what kind of like put a bad taste in my mouth for New Shepard just kind of in general was like when that launch was concluded, it wasn't this like, hey, congratulations, we to the brave people on board. It was this like, hey, check us out. We actually went to space. And for those unfamiliar, the Virgin Galactic going to 80 kilometers does not technically pass the Kármán line, which is like the accepted, you're now in space zone, whereas the New Shepard does. And I just thought that was kind of like like be proud of your achievements, but not like while doing this to like the next guy in line. It felt like it's just such like a cheap shot and just so unnecessary. So it's just kind of tainted the New Glenn or the New Shepard experience as a whole. But as far as these ladies going to space, I don't know. I'm just glad we can identify what a woman is again. We can all agree finally. Weird few years, but we're here.
Well, don't speak for me. I don't agree. No, I'm just kidding. You can call it whatever you want. I see where Vince is kind of going with this, and not the women part. I agree with you wholly. Yes, I'm very, very much on board with that. But the astronaut piece, I'm kind of sitting there and being like, the lines are always going to be blurred. And I think what's true, and I think it's valiant, is a great effort by. I don't know why I drew a blank, by Blue Origin to be able to put a specifically woman cast up into space. I think is awesome, and I think that that's something that we need to see more of. And you know, because I think eventually what we're going to see is we're going to see, we're not going to be debating whether or not they're passing the Kármán line or not. I think we're actually going to have more unique space tourism where people are able to go up for much longer periods of time. And within several decades, we'll have space hotels where people can actually stay. And so what constitutes an astronaut? I don't necessarily know. I'm not an expert when it comes to that. But I think, what I do know is at this point, it's the lines are always going to be, are they an actual astronaut? Are they a tourist? Are they what have you? I think it's only going to get more blurred as we continue in the next 5 to 10 years. And so, to me, I think this is awesome to see that, you have the opportunity to put people into space and give them this opportunity, whether it's through Virgin Galactic, whether it's through the New Shepard from Blue Origin. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see much more of it. And, I really don't care what people call themselves. I just care, when it comes to astronaut or a space tourist, what have you. What I hope is that Blue Origin continues to get the New Shepard vehicle in a state where they can go much further with it. And that New Glenn also has the opportunity to provide new opportunities for people as well in the future. And that's what I'm more concerned about. I'm not going to get lost in the details about what is an astronaut, what is not an astronaut. All I care about is propelling the industry forward, and that the competition between each company continues to excel. And what I don't want to see is what we've seen over the past, let's just say 30, 40 years with the Department of Defense. And a lot of what Palantir preaches, which is everybody had so much margin that they didn't necessarily want to continue down this path of continue to innovate and make things better, make things cheaper, make things more affordable. And we get into some place of stagnant sort of costs where it basically limits the amount of forward progress that we have. And so to me, I think this opportunity is another place where we're continuing to see space costs go down. I think this is New Shepard number 28 or 30 or something like that. So they're doing well to continue to really kind of get into that space of being able to put more frequently people in the air. And I hope that allows them, I don't know if it costs money to do this or what have you, but at least gives them a little bit more visibility and opportunity to continue to progress. Because regardless of whether or not you think that, this is fully funded by, Jeff Bezos or whatever, Blue Origin, I think, is doing a phenomenal job of at least getting things to the pad, and fingers crossed that we'll see New Glenn 2 launch here pretty soon. And hopefully that carries a Rocket Lab vehicle called Escapade to Mars. And so, I'm not getting lost in the details, the trivial, nuances of it being an astronaut, non-astronaut. I personally am looking past it. I'm just looking forward to the future. And I think at the end of the day, I hope to see more ladies going to space.
If you don't mind me stepping back in for a less negative take, or however you want to say, I think that it's also great overall, because it seems like every conversation that I have with somebody who is just kind of like, what are your interests? And I start telling them about like space or investing. One of the first things that I always hear is like, well, isn't that a big drain on the budget? And right away it's like, well, I think a lot of people can't even wrap their head around like how much goes to military compared to how very little goes to space. And I think that even just like that kind of presence of like, oh, my favorite pop star went to space does kind of alleviate a bit of that like weariness, that lack of understanding, we'll call it. So overall, it's probably great for public sentiment.
Yeah. And me, as a last comment on this topic, is that space travel has been super expensive, and so even if you can pay that money, you have, like, I don't know if you guys saw the Netflix documentary of what was it called? Something with the four, like when Jared Isaacman and four others went to space, and I think they had to train for like 6 months full time, and then 3 weeks before the launch they had to like quarantine themselves and like move to the base, and that's just, even if the costs come down, like going through a 6-month full-time training, it's just not viable for most of the population. So it's actually beautiful that you can put on a suit, as long as it fits your silicone things, you can go and you can come back, and yeah, so it is the future, as Call Me Curtis said on a very hilarious comment. Thank God it was pressurized, otherwise there would be silicone explosions in that capsule.
The comment section as a whole is just unhinged.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Inspiration 4, yeah, exactly, that's the one that it was. Inspiration 4 mission. Cool, guys. Yeah, I don't know if the audience has any questions that they want us to answer. Obviously, we're the best at predicting Rocket Lab's share price next week. We know exactly if it's going to go up or down and by how much. So make sure you ask us that. And yeah, other than that, I don't know if you guys have any comments you want to in closing.
What I will say is I've steered away from covered calls over the last few weeks, but what I have done is on the Thursday or Friday, if I have the opportunity and I don't think that there's big announcements or anything coming, then I'll try to sell, contracts for a penny super far out of the money. Like, I'm not talking like, if it's trading down.
Bottom feeding or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sell it at like 21 or 22. I'm selling it for like 1 to 2 days expiry, if that. Super far out of the money. So I think I sold some like 28s on like Thursday for a penny. I was trying to get a penny and a half or two, and I just couldn't. But I got them for a penny. And so what it does, I mean, if you have enough shares, it allows you to buy a couple more. And it's not a lot, but I guess at the same time, you're kind of hoping that nothing crazy comes out that'll shoot the stock up 40%. But that's the thing, it is 40% up compared to the current stock price. So, at least it gives you some insulation. So next week, if things really are, that crazy, I just don't think that it's going to be called away. It's something like that. But as always, you run the risk of something like that being called away, and do what's right for you, not because I'm doing it, but because you think it's right. But I think that, with having, over 20,000 shares, being able to write something at a penny is $200, and that allows you to get a couple more shares. And, like I said, it's super far out of the money. I'm not doing it at like 22 or $23. So.
Yeah, I can tell you guys stories about cover calls that you don't think will go in the money and earns you money. It's expensive when it doesn't go your way. Yeah, but I mean, I think you're doing it very safe, to be honest, because you're doing it like just a few days and so out of the money, and yeah, you're just like if you would write those cover calls, I guess on like more aggressive and like more like a little bit longer and closer to where the price is today, like you could be making like thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars per month, I think. But then you're running the risk of the shares being called away. Right, Matt?
Pardon, what was the question? I was reading something.
No. I'm saying that like you're playing your cover calls very, very safe, and then if you would be like playing them like a little bit longer and closer to the strike price, like you could be earning tens of thousands of dollars per month.
Oh yeah, no, I'm trying to be, very conservative, and some people might call me stupid for even trying, but I'm talking 35-40% out of the money and 1 to 2 days left of expiry, so not weeks.
Yeah. Very little risk that you're taking there. Okay, cool. We have one question here by Call Me Curtis. Please take the silicone off the screen. Okay. I'm taking off the silicone. 1, 2, 3. No, I was just kidding. Okay. So, when will the Mynaric deal close? Any news on that, guys?
I'd say ideally we get news on earnings, and I think more realistically we get news by middle of the year, but that's just shot in the dark.
Yeah.
No idea.
All right. How does your poor dad's heart deal with this carnage at the moment? It's very funny. He called me probably at the bottom that he's like, we have to do something. The market is falling. And he normally like never texts me. And I felt this, like he wasn't saying that we should sell everything, but he was saying, and I have to be like, calm down. And then literally like the next day, Trump put the 90-day tariff, and then everything was like 20% up. And I sent him a picture, and I'm like, yeah, this is why you don't panic. So it's so interesting. Like my dad never talks to me about the stock market, but then the one day he does, it seems to be the bottom, you know, when he freaks out. Okay. How long will it take for revenue to come from space applications? I mean, that is the $1 million question. If you are more bullish than Wall Street, and you're right, you're going to make a lot of money. If you're off and Wall Street is off, then we're going to lose a lot of money on the or not earn as much on the stock price appreciation as we want. When is the best earnings date?
I think it's May 7th.
I think it's when is the next earning, not the best earning date, but yes. Is it May 7th?
Just double checking. May 8th, sorry. May 8th.
Yeah. Okay, here's the most important question. I want to know when Matt is going to strip for us again. I think Matt's answer is anything for the right price, Francisco.
Very true. Anything for the
Okay,
right
cool.
price.
Okay, cool. Well, this has been an amazing episode. I really enjoyed it. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you for the audience for being here. And yeah, may the skies stay blue and your stocks stay green. I'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.
Thank you all.
And happy Easter for those who celebrate, by the way.
Yes, happy Easter.
All right. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you all.